The attacks on September 11th, 2001 left the world in shock. It was a day of fear and uncertainty. But we also saw the best of humanity that day as people came together and found strength in one another. We made a commitment that we would never forget. That being the case, SoldierStrong, in association with Gier Productions, is producing a feature-length documentary titled The Heroism and Resiliency of 9/11 for the 25th anniversary. Our film will be a reminder of what we are capable of doing when we as Americans all come together as one. There have been many films produced about 9/11, but this will be the first film that offers hope, featuring stories of heroism and resiliency, showing that no matter how tragic an event is, we can overcome. As the Chief of Staff for George W. Bush, Andy Card was by the President's side before, during, and after 9/11. His interview consists of his first-hand account of what transpired that day and the days that followed. As Vice Chairman of the Federal Reserve, Roger Ferguson was in charge of the Federal Reserve on 9/11. His actions immediately stabilized the economy and our financial markets, saving the country from what could have been financial disaster. Country music icon Lee Greenwood went down to ground zero with the folding chair, stood on it, and at the top of his lungs, he sang his hit song, God Bless the USA, a cappella, to encourage the first responders. Bill McMahon was an employee with Morgan Stanley in the South Tower. He says Rick Rescorla was the man responsible for saving the lives of 2,700 Morgan Stanley employees, including his own life. While making one last check to make sure that everyone was out, Rick lost his life when the tower came down. The Dunkirk evacuation of more than 338,000 Allied soldiers during World War II in France had been the largest boat lift in history. But on 9/11, the Coast Guard put out a call and boats, large and small, came from every direction to rescue 500,000 people stranded on the south side of Manhattan, making it the largest boat lift in history. As a Port Authority police officer, Will Jimeno was working on 9/11, and he was buried alive when the South Tower collapsed. But miraculously, he survived after being trapped for almost 13 hours under 30 feet of debris. New York police officer Scott Strauss led the team that rescued Will Jimeno. Risking his own life, he made the difficult journey 30 feet down into the rubble. After spending hours doing life-threatening work, Scott and his team were finally able to get Will freed. After the attack at the Pentagon, Chris Brayman worked 60 hours straight and brought out 64 people, 1/3 of all of the people recovered from the attack. Unfortunately, only one survived. Sheila Moody was in her office right below where the plane hit the Pentagon, and a fireball flew right past her desk. Amongst the flames and the smoke, Sheila saw a hand reaching towards her. She grabbed hold, and Chris brought her to safety. The passengers and crew of Flight 93 fought back against the terrorists, and they stopped the plane from reaching its intended target, saving countless lives on the ground. Jack Grancolis not only lost his wife on Flight 93, but he also lost his unborn child. He talks about resiliency and how he made it through that devastating time. As a teenager, Jesse Simpson was suicidal, but 9/11 saved his life by giving him a new purpose. He decided to live so that he could join the military and fight against those that attacked us. And after watching the many heroic actions of the firefighters that day, he had hoped to become a firefighter. He accomplished both goals and became Arizona's Firefighter of the Year. These are just a few of the many interviews that will tell the story of 9/11 and educate the next generation so that we never forget, highlighting the many positive things that came from 9/11 despite the tragedy, and encourage people to give back in their own community. Our goal is that the film gives people hope, inspiring them, and showing that no matter a person's circumstances, they too can overcome.